This is a good turnout. It better be a good presentation. No, I'm joking.
Oh, is this mine?
Hello, hello. Oh, nice.
Yeah. What's in here? Oh. It's a controller that you control by blowing into the thing. That's how you control it. It's clever.
Yes, that is sound, and it sounds okay. All right, we're gonna get started. I don't have a camera, so I don't got to stand anywhere in particular. Oh, the mic's been on. Oops. Camera's in the bag. I don't have the tripod. More importantly. No, we're good. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming, and thank you for joining us online. If you're joining us online, my name is Curtis. You're here for the New Orleans Game Dev Meetup. I forgot I need to press the button. I don't need to stand there because there's not even Okay, hello. This is the worst microphone in the world, and this is the tax people on the internet have to pay. So come to the meetup in person. You don't have to hear this horrible audio.
All right. So where was I? Okay, so everything in here are nodes. Green are anything that are just canvas level. Anything that's going to be your top level when it comes to like your camera in your scenes. Reds are basically anything that is 3D. Blue is for 2D. And gray is basically just empty nodes that you can put things into. So a lot of things in gray are usually like kind of just empty objects that just hold scripts for me normally. We have the file system right here. It's pretty standard, explanatory. It's just basically how you access all your assets, scripts, anything else that you need to make your game run. Godot is very finicky when it comes to this. You never want to change files really externally from this, except if you're using like VS Code and stuff like that. When you're editing, that's totally fine. Some things can be kind of wonky. It's not perfect. The inspector on the right-hand side, this is basically all your properties and attributes for whatever item, whatever node, whatever thing that you're working on, right? So anything from your transform, your materials, your processes, your physics processes, you can turn all of these things on and off from here. This is also a way you can get into your node properties and also your signals for using different signals for different functions when you're coding. The viewport, obviously, and then the output panel at the very bottom. This is just basically your output. Anything that you're debugging will show up in the bottom when you're running a game and also coding. So that's where your errors go. So all this explained, where do you start to make a video game in Godot? Well, the first thing you should do is have an idea dummy. And if you don't have an idea, just join a game jam and have them give you a prompt, then make everyone sit through your postmortem at an NOGD meeting. So welcome to my postmortem. I talked to Curtis, and essentially he already did kind of a Godot overview. So I kind of talked to him, and we decided that a good thing would be is to explain maybe a process of making a game in Godot, like fully. I'm obviously not going to fully explain everything I've done to make this game, because that'd be much longer than like whatever time we have here. But what I did is that NOGD had the Blueberry Game Jam, and the theme was below sea level. So this is the first game jam I did with NOGD. Essentially, I wanted to make an arcade game to go into the cabinet at the Sea Cave. So we have a Sea Cave arcade cabinet. A lot of it is just like local game devs that like put games in there. You can go in there and play it. It's totally like it's whatever we put in it or they put in it. If you make something and want to put in there, and people can go play it. So I needed something with a simple game loop that would be easy to make in like 3 days, because the game jam was set for 3 days. Lucky for me, Godot is super easy to prototype and very quickly. So for what you're looking at the left-hand side of the screen is basically my first prototype that I had going on. This was like the morning after the game jam started. So it was pretty quick for me to kind of go in here, just make a guy. I wanted to make a diver, kind of like just floating through the water as like kind of the below sea level kind of theme of it, everything. And I also wanted to make it kind of like just a quarter munching arcade hard game. So that's what I did. And the first thing I did was make a player controller. So this is where you can see where I'm a bad programmer. A lot of this, from probably a lot of y'all are looking at this and going like, oh man, that's a lot of spaghetti code and it's absolutely terrible, and you're absolutely right. But it works. So that's all that matters to me. So what happened is that I wanted to make, originally it was going to be a 2D game. But I've been working on my own project, and I've been working in 3D and Godot for the entire time. And I kind of decided that I want to stick to working with 3D, but make a 2D game in a 3D environment. That's a lot easier than said, which is good. But what happens is that I needed to figure out how to get player movement to be to feel like a diver, to feel like he's sinking in water constantly, to move, have that like feeling of being like stuck in water, like moving through it, not like quick or swiftly, but like there's a fluidity to it, right? So the first things I kind of figured out is that after I used, basically Godot has a preset for character controllers. All it is basically sets it up for just WASD for movement, and you can move on like all different axes, right? So what I did is that I made a little player character. I used that original script. I put a camera on it, so basically it's stuck to the player and will follow it wherever it goes. And then I decided to start making him sync. So essentially, if you stop moving, the character will start to sync, and for that, I basically put in sync delays, the sync speed, things that would basically kick in when you stop moving, and then immediately like just start falling, right? So this is basically just the movement logic for everything, minus the input code, essentially. So everything's set to basically, the x velocity, input x. So basically that's just my movement speed. It's just set into the velocity to x, right? Basically I also set up a current sync speed. Every time you move horizontally, basically it multiplies the sync speed for a factor. So basically when you're moving to the right or left, it basically, it stops the sync speed from happening, but still does it very slowly, right? Also I lerped that. I don't know how many people know lerp, probably a lot of y'all. I had to look up what lerp is, and apparently it's just essentially a range, and the most layman's dumb term possible I can explain. I'm also dumb, so don't forget that. And then, so Godot also has a set built-in functions, like a lot of engines do. The movement slide is like just a built-in, essentially math function that allows for essentially friction to be applied to whatever you're moving, right? Without this function that's being called into any other coding, what's going to happen is that your movement's going to be very wonky, very weird. Sometimes they won't move at all, or sometimes they'll just start sliding everywhere for no reason. So I had that down. I had a player controller. The next thing I had to do is make a level. I wanted to do this in 3D, like I said, instead of a 2D. So what I did is that I took just some basic planes. I took a couple quad meshes, I put them vertically against the camera, and then I just threw some textures on them. I downloaded a texture pack from itch.io. It cost me like $5. That's where I got basically all these assets from, because there's no way I was going to make any of this in 3 days. But what I wanted to do was that I wanted to make that a parallaxing background kind of situation without having to code it too well. So all I did was just basically have 3 quad planes, put it up there, add the textures, and just stack them against each other at different degrees. I also wanted to make sure that you couldn't go out of bounds in the level over the camera where I set. So I just took 2 just quad meshes, made them big, added textures on them. I threw on some normal textures as well, and some ambient occlusion, just to make them look a little bit more like 3D for like the coral and everything, like where the light shines off to it. And that's what you can see on the left-hand side. This is just basically just the textures and material override for these actual pillars, right? So this is what they look like up close. Let's see. All right, so I had that situated. I had a level, had a character, and it's time to make some enemies. So what I did is that, again, took another assets that I just bought from the same pack, and I decided to make a couple of enemies with like just basic like AI movement, right? Like just standard enemy controller stuff. So I made a couple fish, put them in here. Had 2 fish that kind of do the same thing. They just move around. But what I also wanted to do is that basically I wanted to chase the player, right? So what I did is that if you look on the left-hand side, this is also just the scene. So the scene is basically the red fish. It's indicated that's a 3D character controller. So basically all it is just an animated sprite, and then it has collision shapes, and then it has an area 3D, which is basically a trigger. You can't see it in here, or you can kind of see it. It's the light blue kind of circle around here. All it does is that basically says that I have a signal set up to where basically when the player enters that area, all it does is that it triggers the fish to basically immediately start chasing the player. It goes a little bit faster and a little bit more aggressive, right? It's not really that complicated, but to kind of get the timing and the speed down for the character was like a bit of a headache. because I wanted it to be challenging but fair, and I wanted to make sure that like the player could have a chance to like get away. So what happens is that if he breaks the area, the player breaks the area, it resets a timer that basically puts the chase or is chasing back at 0, and then the fish will continue to move left and right. Okay. We can kind of see that in here. We have the is dashing, is chasing variables. These are just basically just true or false Boolean variables that basically just get called into the fish, and every time. So like if is chasing, I have a dash timer set up, and it's subtracting by delta, which means that it's subtracted by every frame that's happening, right? So every frame that it's happening, if he is in that circle, that fish will just chase the player. So I made a red fish, made a blue fish, I made an orange fish, I made a jellyfish. I also set it to where, depending on what axis he's on, they flip the sprite horizontally, so I didn't have to do anything else with that. So I had 4 basic enemies that I made. The red fish and the blue fish operate exactly the same. The blue fish is bigger, so I have the player shoot harpoons at them to get points. The blue fish takes 2 hits, and the red fish takes 1. The orange fish, their logic is just very simple. They just move back and forth. That's all they do. They don't chase the player. They're just here to be an obstacle, but if they hit the player's dead. They also get hit in 1 shot. And same thing with the jellyfish. All they do is just move up. They spawn below the camera, and they just move up randomly in just a direction or a spawn location. And all you do is just avoid them and shoot them. You get 50 points. So I needed to figure out how to spawn the enemies into my game, and I wanted to make it look natural and not weird, and also make sure that they spawn appropriately and not on top of each other, and also just like have variation with everything, right? So essentially what I did was that I created a script. What it does is that it calls for the player's camera viewport, and what it does is that it takes the actual bounding box for the player camera that is there. So if the player camera is like 800 by 600, that means that basically anything in there is going to be registered, right? Except I wanted to make sure that everything spawned below that. So basically anything that's below a certain axis on the Y value that the camera is at will spawn enemies. So I had that set up, and then I realized that I started getting a lot of performance issues, and I forgot to despawn the enemies if they just move above the camera. So I started getting a lot of frame drop, a lot of just terrible chugging, and I figured out, oh, I just need to despawn them as well. So eventually when they hit the top of where they're at over the camera, they'll just despawn, and then everything's totally fine, which is right here, clean up for enemies. And then I also decided, and here as well, there is a couple other enemies, or just one other enemy that I added later, but is in the script. Yes, the eel hole. So I decided that I wanted to make another enemy type that essentially is just a big old eel. So I wanted to hang out on the side of the walls, and I wanted to basically just kind of like every time the player will pass by, I have a ray cast that's on that enemy, and what a ray cast does is that it just shoots out a ray. Basically, if it connects with something, then it triggers something, right? Like a flashlight and like our laser. If you just basically put your hand in front of it, like something will happen, right? So what I did was I set up these spawn locations by creating I went in Blender and made essentially like a 3D hole that I can spawn at the actual walls of the level. And I had to actually map out like the distance between the x-axis distance of like one end of the camera to the next end of the camera, and basically these enemies can only spawn in these specific locations, either left or right? And they can only spawn below the camera as well. So the next thing I had to do was create a HUD. So I wanted to figure out exactly what I'm tracking with our game, with my game. And so what I did is that I'm again making just a very simple kind of arcade game, right? So I wanted a couple things. I wanted a score, something to keep the score, and then I decided that I wanted to keep track of how deep you're going in the level, right? So what I did, and oxygen as well. I added bubbles and a constant meter that goes down as you're diving, And then when you get doubles, basically it replenishes your oxygen by, I think, 30%? Yes. So what happens is that basically every time a player interacts with double, the oxygen goes back down. If the oxygen goes all the way to 0, the player dies. So it gives them kind of incentive to keep moving, and also gives them incentive to like get as many like collectibles as possible to try to stay alive. Because the more oxygen you have, the further you can go down. This is just basically just the oxygen, like how it works within the HUD. So I have an oxygen depletion rate. It checks for every frame, so basically it ticks every frame that it goes down, and essentially, what is that? And then basically every time you hit a oxygen bubble, you just add oxygen, and you can't exceed the amount of 100, right? The other thing was that I wanted the depth, right? So I wanted to see how far the player can go down. So basically I have just set up to where it grabs the player's position on the y-axis, right? And then basically converts that to a whole number using the absolute, the ABS, right? So what that does is that because I'm moving down, I'm going to be moving down on the y-axis, I use ABS to basically just take that same number and just convert it to positive numbers, whole numbers, right? So you keep going down, the meter goes up on the top left-hand corner, so you can basically, it won't show like a negative number when it goes down, so I just need to convert that. And this last thing was basically the score. Very simple. Same thing with the oxygen, is that basically there's a score variable. It starts off at 0. Every time you get something, it just increases the number, right? So, pretty easy. The reset score is basically any time that you die. Well, when you fully die, you have 3 lives. Basically, it restarts everything, so it won't keep that same variable and the same numbers over for the next time you play the game. So by day 3, I had a win-fail state, and by win-fail state I mean that I had a fail state, and that's about it, because this game was all about making points, right? Scoring points, how deep you can go. Kind of like Pac-Man, right? Pac-Man doesn't really have a win state. You just keep going until you hit a kill screen, which takes forever. I had enemies and point system, so I had a way to keep score and keep track of everything. I had the tracking for depth, and I had a title screen that I made. I had a game. So in 3 days I had a game. It looked very similar to the one on the right hand side. It's not this one. I just couldn't find a video for the day 3 mark, but that's Jellyfish Hell. So this is when I just first had just Jellyfish working and testing that. So you can see the score going up every time you hit a jellyfish. It goes up to 50. You see the meters going down and going up depending on where you're at in location, with the player location on the y-axis. And it's very simple, right? So what happened is that they extended deadline to a full week, which is awesome. So in 3 days I had a working game. It wasn't pretty, it didn't look very good, and it was just kind of fun, like it was alright. So what happened is that they were like, we're going to extend this to like the full week, and I said, that's great, I have nothing else to do except this, and I'm just going to put my whole butt into it, right? So I wanted to add exploding mines to my game. Every time you go up to them, like they just basically tick and explode. That'd be really cool, like another object for the player to kind of like interact with and try to avoid. I wanted to add a new enemy, which I explained. I added the eel that was a part of that enemy spawn script. I wanted to make the harpoon break against the wall. Like it just kind of disappeared, and I was like, that's just kind of boring. Like I wanted to add like a little bit more like juice to it, a little context. I wanted a high score screen, just because like what's the point of playing the game if you just can't keep track of that? Because like if there's no actual win state, then it's just kind of like, cool, I scored this and I can't show it to anyone, so it's like, what am I winning? Nothing. I wanted splash screens because I wanted this to be like an actual arcade game. Like I wanted it to be like an arcade game that I went into like an arcade, played, and when you just leave it alone, like it'll just have like the Capcom logo or like the winners don't do drugs logo and stuff like that. And then I wanted to have something like an end level, right? Like I wanted a kill screen, but kill screens happened because the technology at the time was just not as good, right? Eventually the game decides that it can't handle a game anymore and just breaks. I didn't want that because that would just be insane on my 32 RAM computer because it would just go forever. But I decided that I would like to have a cutoff for the game at some point. So what I did is that I actually took some time, I did some research into different arcade games and figured like how long do people play arcade games, especially if you're really good, right? And generally it's about 20 to 30 minutes. So I basically figured out to basically convert the distance it would take from the travel time from the actual player just defaultly floating down to see how long it would take 30 minutes to hit. And then at that point, I literally just put a seafloor down and I said, that's the end of the level. So if you can basically avoid everything for 30 minutes, you hit the end of the game. And then I wanted to add juice. I wanted to spice it up a lot. I wanted to add some polish to the game and make it look good. So here's the wonderful world of shaders. How many people have worked with shaders before? Okay, a couple. I've never. I've done it once for another game jam where I decided to make pixels look like they dissolve when you shoot them, and it worked pretty well. So shaders are an entirely different beast, and my God, are they powerful. I love them so much. There's so many things that you can do with shaders, and one of the things that I realized is that this game looks very bland, just floating down. You don't even look like you're underwater. You just look like you're just floating in nothing, right? So I was like, how am I going to figure out to make it look like I'm floating on water? Well, that's where I found noise. And noise is great, because noise is just static and just mush, but like, it just operates on just a gradient value of an alpha channel, right? And whatever you put into that alpha channel and whatever you configure to the alpha channel, you can do a lot of cool stuff with. For instance, if you look down here, this is basically just a tile screen, bare bones, nothing else, just a tile screen. And what it is that I'm using basically a fast noise, paranoise, I believe, to create basically a rippling effect that goes into the actual screen. And this is also on the canvas level, right? So basically this is what anything below your camera, anything your camera's looking at, will have this this shader on it. So I wanted to make it look like it's underwater. I wanted to make it look like an old CRT TV because of the old arcade games. And then I decided to add some just some basic little small particles effects to make it look like sea debris, like when you're floating in water. I combined all of those into one big shader that I have right here, and this is just basically my HUD shader. I think it's just called CRT Wave or something. But essentially, it just uses the noise that I created. Basically, adds some parameters to it for wave strength, the brightness multiplier of the actual CRT, chromatic aberration. Had to look up what that was. Still don't really know what it is. I just copied it down because I was like, that sounds right. And it looked great. They added a vignette to it so I can control the brightness, and added scan lines to get that old CRT feel, right? So I was pretty happy with this. Then I decided to go on to the mine. I was like, I got the look of the game so far. I want to add a little bit more. So I was like, I'm going to make a mine. So this mine basically, it's set up kind of like how the jellyfish are, except they don't move. But what they do is that they just bob in place, right? Like a mine does. So what I did is basically set it up to basically bob in position. This is all complicated math that I don't know. This is just me reading off documentation and going, yeah, that looks right, and it worked. So basically it just takes the possession, just basically slowly bobs it on the y-axis, and then also the x-axis, but it kept rotating, so I was like, I'm just going to set this to billboard so it just looks at the camera constantly, and no one will know. And then I added a couple things because I wanted the mines to explode, right? So I have basically the on-explode function right here, and then on-trigger area body. This is a signal, which is this little green icon right here, which means that it's connected to a specific function, right? So, or specific node, I should say. This function is connected to a node. So what this function is connected to is an area body, right? Which is kind of like how the fish operated earlier. There's a invisible orb around the fish. If your player character enters it, it triggers, right? So, and it says right here, yeah, you say if the body is in your player, so if only the player triggers it, because I don't want fish to trigger it, I don't want anything else to trigger it, just the player, and basically it will trigger the on-explode. So I wanted to, I'm working in 3D now. I was like, I could just put in 2D sprites to make it look like it explodes, but I wanted to actually make an explosion in 3D. So that's what I did, with more shaders. So what happened is that I found a basic tutorial online to basically how to make an explosion, and then I tweaked the hell out of it to get exactly what I wanted. So what I did is that I'm just using in this right hand example of the explosion. This is just a sphere mesh. That's all it is. However, it's set up to basically just expand and contract. It tweens on a property that basically just explodes. But it just looked like an orb ball kind of just going big and small, and that didn't really look good. And then once it gets to the smallest point, I just set the visibility to the object to false, so it just disappears, right? So this is where noise comes into play again. Noise is great. I love noise. I hate the music, but I love this. So what happens is that, like I said before, it operates on an alpha channel that goes into either the blackest and then the whitest, right? So transparency and then like the full color of that alpha channel. So what happens is that basically this screen on the left is actually the shader node editor that's also native to Godot. So much like the shader I did back here, this is all just code. This is the same thing, but in a visual format, which I found much later when I was doing this specific thing, and it worked great for me. Love it. So basically in this, I have a base color. I have the cloud dissolve, so basically it dissolves when it reaches a maximum point for the alpha. And then I have an emissive brightness color, so obviously it reaches the brightest point of the explosion when it's full, right? So, and then it basically just goes back down. It's very fun to kind of mess with this, just because you can make the explosion look like very spiky and weird, just because it operates on that noise alpha channel, and it's really fun to kind of just see what you can do with it. This is probably the most fun I had making this game, was just doing the explosion and just this mine specifically, because I was like, I have the explosion, I have the mine, and I was like, but now like it doesn't, there's still not enough. I wanted something a little bit more. So I wanted a shockwave that like it's in water, right? Like I wanted a shockwave to happen when it explodes. But I also wanted to like an indicator that it is exploding. So like I wanted something to go off, a blinking, a noise going off when like the player enters in that area that like triggers it. So what I did was create this. So I got this little like ring up here. This operates just like the noise does, and it's great because it's just a texture. It's just a PNG of just a gradient ring, right? So what this happens is that when it explodes, it basically sends this gradient, it tweens it out, it expands and transforms all the way across the screen, and just basically disappears. I do that by basically setting, I wanted to make sure that it worked properly, and this is a 3D game, right? So I needed the actual shockwave to happen on the camera instead of the actual environment, because everything's set up in a 2D plane. And I wanted to get the same look every time. So what I did is that essentially I got the viewport of the camera, so whatever it's looking at currently, and then basically the world position of that camera. And so basically what it does is that it takes the mine's world position and it basically spawns this little ring wherever that mine is, and you see it on the viewport. So it just looks for it constantly. These are the shading parameters that I can set. So basically just the radius, time, distortion, strength, so I can make it look absolutely insane if I wanted to. And then I wanted to have the animation occur. You can do this with an animation player. I didn't know how to get exactly what I wanted from this with an animation player, but instead I just use the tweens. So all this does is just basically sets like an ease out and ease in tween for the actual like the PNG that's like overlaid on the alpha channel for the viewport, right? So all this is just animation. Basically, like once it reaches the callback, which is basically the actual end, when the actual circle is left the camera, basically it sets the shockwave back to visible as false. You modulate it back to 1 so no one can see it, and eventually you just destroy it completely with another function I have earlier. So I was feeling pretty good about that. And then finally I was like, high scores, gotta have that. This is very simple to do. All it does is just basically print out a high scores. It saves into a JSON file locally onto the computer. Obviously I don't have it set up on the web version that I have on itch.io, just because I don't know where to put that. Where am I going to put that? But anything that you're running on, like an arcade cabinet that we have at CCave, basically we just create a JSON file that it calls to and writes constantly and just edits, right? And I even set it up to where basically it's just custom sort. So basically it goes from like highest number to lowest number for 10. So anytime you just get in that top 10 range and you get your name up there or your initials up there, you'll be on the screen. And it's great. And you can show off to your friends and say like, hey, I'm better than you at this. Secondly is that I had the high score screen. I also had a tile screens, and I also made splash screens at some point, but those are very simple to make, so I didn't decide to put those in here. Instead, I was like, you know what, a lot of arcade games have a demo mode or a track mode, which is basically when like the arcade is just sitting in idle. It will actually just play the game for you to kind of attract your attention, to say like, hey, why don't you come play this game? I wanted that. At this point, I had maybe like a day or two left. I looked up a bunch of different ways I could do this. One of them being that I can just have the game, I can make a script to record all my actions and button inputs and do all these things to make it kind of like interesting and cool and like kind of more dynamic. And I was like, that's a lot of work. I'm not doing that. I found out a way how I can do this better, which is basically I just go into OBS, record myself playing for just a couple minutes, and then basically put it in a video stream player, which is a canvas layer node. Nodes are great. Node for everything. Use them. So what it does is basically all it does is just play it. It just plays the video that I converted into a weird format that I've never seen before. But it works, and I love it. So basically when the game you just leave it be, it'll just start playing this little press start, like a track mode, and you can go check it out, and it's awesome. But I also realized that I recorded that video at a later time, because when you pick up the gems to give you points, they don't actually show you the point value. So I hate that. That bothers me, but I'm not going to fix it. And finally, that end level I thought it would be really cool to have like some sort of like thing that you get at the very end of the game. You hit the very bottom of the ocean. I thought it'd be cool to have like a boat and a chest kind of like sitting there, so I just grabbed some like just basic assets off of Sketchfab for free. I just basically textured them, put them in there, and I said, great, and I animated a little chest to open and close. And basically put area on it. As soon as you go down to the chest, it basically shakes and just opens and plays a little bit of music, and there's a little fanfare, and then that's the end of the level, and it adds like 2,000 points to your score, so like it's totally worth it to try to make it to the very end. And this is what I did. And then confetti shoots out a little bit, and it just plays a little like a little horn noise. It's very anticlimactic, but I love it. And then the score pops up. It gives you your final score. You put in your initials, and then that's the end of the game. But it takes it's about 600 meters down. I cheated because I'm not doing that. So it takes about maybe 30 minutes if you can make it all the way down there, totally unimpeded without dying. Yeah, you can try to see if you can make it to the very end, which I do have set up right there. So if you're actually curious in playing my game, please go ahead and just play it. Let me know how you like it, what do you think, yeah, is there any questions?
Any questions? Got one. Is this set up at TK right now?
No, I wanted to.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that. I'll do that today if you got the files.
I do have the files. I'm on my laptop right now. What do you need?
I need game.
You need like Windows CO2?
What I really need is just your executable
Okay.
little image for the game, like a logo file,
Okay.
and gameplay. Honestly, yeah, the video. Just a gameplay video.
That sounds good.
That's all I need.
Yeah. Cool. Any more questions? Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. No. If I knew like, because I've worked in them before. By all means, I'm not an expert at Godot at all. I'm probably more intermediate at this point. I've been working in it for about maybe like 2 years now. And there's just so much things that like I just never touch because like I just never had to. A lot of my projects I work on are very much like just game jams. So like when I found the node editor like that, I was like, oh, well, I wish I knew about this sooner.
Is there like node editing for like just
there's like a shader
visual
graphic
scripting
Godot.
stuff?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Is there? It's not visual scripting, right?
Yeah, it is for Godot. Yeah, That's what that was.
But no, like.
Oh, you mean like visual scripting, like Unreal?
Like,
Yeah.
No, I think there's so one of the good things about Godot in general too is that because it's open source, a lot of people will put in their time and effort and work to basically make a bunch of tools for it, and all of it's usually free. And one of those tools is that they have a visual editing tool for Godot. It hasn't been updated in a while, but I also believe that Godot is working on their own. So probably within the next couple updates that we're coming at, we're going to have a visual editor for that as well. So yeah.
This might be like a little out of wheelhouse stuff, but I noticed like move and slide.
Yes.
Is that a like Godot level function?
Yeah, it's a built-in function.
Do you know if that's in like the mono develop, like the C# sort of stuff?
That I don't know. I know there's a lot of overlap between both of those. I couldn't tell you if there is like
it's a member function of the character 2D/3D mode, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's basically just a physics function that just kind of works. It has like it has like friction and movement and like basically like it converts all like the velocity numbers into like a usable source.
I think it's really impressive, honestly. Like for even like a 3-day to like a week game jam, you got like a lot of polish in there, which I feel like, God, in my week game jams, I never have this level of polish. I don't have ambient occlusion.
This is like probably my most polished game jam game I've ever made. So I was pretty pumped for it, to be honest with you. You can actually hook in. It's actually pretty easy. I would be able to show you, but what happens is that in the in the where is that? The inspector pane. Jesus, there it is. Okay. So basically, in the inspector pane, you can see the base inspector for basically this is all your parameters for your nodes when you select them. So there's a node option right here. That little tab brings up all the signals. There's a node and grouping signals. And they have the built-in signals for that too. So basically every node, when you click on them, is going to have their own signals that you can use. All you do is just basically double-click it, and then you can connect them to a function, and it's very easy. You can also do it in script too, but why? It's just much easier just to do that. Looking for a signal. There it is. I do, yeah. Mainly just because, like, if you're, I can't remember like the actual syntax for it right now, but like, all you would do is just basically on your onReady function, like you would just basically hit the connection there. So you just basically like put like connect node to whatever signal that you want to connect it to on the onReady. It's the same thing as basically just double clicking and just connecting. And when you double click and connect, it just gives you that little green icon right there on the side. So this is basically just connected to the area body node. So this is just a signal that represents it's connected. So you can kind of like look down your script and like see the little green like icons and be like, okay, all my stuff's connected, my signals are working, so like everything should be working with this, so it's fine. Yeah, the actual signal name is on trigger area body entered.
And there's another process that's
Well, it's interesting because they're updating.
Yeah, so yes. So if you look here for body and it says node 3D, so I actually connected this to the area body, right? So it's just basically like this is just a default naming convention. You can change it to whatever. Oh right, no, you can in the editor. So what happens is that like when you look at the nodes, there's little icons to show if there's a signal attached to it or not. So you can actually hover over it and it'll actually tell you exactly what signal is attached to. I don't remember I think if you hover over this, the green icon, I think it does show what it's connected to. I can't remember if it does or not right now. Yeah.
This is,
For which one? Yeah. Yeah, I'm just there. So what was your question? I'm sorry.
It's so annoying. Every fucking project ever made.
Oh yes, so yes. So basically, the harpoon, what it is that essentially, it's just a projectile. It's just an object. It's just a scene that I instantiate when, like, every time I hit a button. So at the top of the script, where you see, like, right below my exports and everything, you would basically see a on ready function that basically just imports the harpoon scene from, like, my file tree, and basically every time it's ready, like the player loads, it's going to load in that harpoon as well on the back end. And every time I hit the fire button, it's going to spawn that harpoon. It's going to instantiate the harpoon and just pull in that scene. And just the harpoon is scripted as well, so it's going to act exactly how it's supposed to be. It's going to pull in. It's basically just loading in a new scene, a new object. Yeah. What's that? Did I ever use a semicolon? No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I don't think Python. Does Python use semicolons? Yeah, I think so. It's yeah. GDScript doesn't use semicolons either.
Yeah, that's not.
So a scene is more of like the it's just basically the root node. Yeah, basically inside. So when we say scene, it's basically just like any sort of object like that you're calling in or doing something with. So there's really no sort of parameter for it. You like anything can really be a scene that you're calling in. I've used scenes of just empty nodes before too, and just call in for, because I was like, yeah, this script's working, I like this, and I'm just gonna move this in here. Probably not the most efficient, but like it works. You can also do a thing where I like to do if you're making like specific items, you can actually script directly into the object or the node itself instead of having to save the script separately. So it does make things a little bit like easier when you're like, I just have the script here, I know where it's at, I can call it anytime, and that's fine. But instead of having like create a script and attach it, you can just directly just attach the script like automatically to it. Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. What's that?
I have to use the mod because I'm using.
Yes.
I'm using C#. That's the hardware. No, it's always on like another sort of access level of C whatever always has information about other things. But I have a script in here. And I have a script in here. Where is it hiding? And not instances. Wait, here, so I have a script here. So can I add a script?
Yeah, I guess we're done here. Bingo. Yeah, that's what I mean. Thank you all for coming. Hang out, whatever you want.
If you haven't joined the Discord, then I will put this thing up again so you can join the Discord. It's right there. Yeah. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Royce, for speaking. Thank you, people on Twitch, for watching. Goodbye.